right, so we are going now into the fifth style of leadership. Remember, we're talking about the styles of leadership and how they create the right climate towards achieving the results that you intend. Initially, we have talked about the first style of leadership, which is the coercive or commanding style of leadership. And then we looked at what? The visionary style of leadership. And then thirdly, we looked at the affiliative style of leadership. And then the last lesson, we looked also at the democratic style of leadership. Right now, we want to look at the fifth style of leadership. And this style of leadership is known as the pace-setting style of leadership. Remember, once again, I keep reiterating this, the fact that it is the best leader who is able to combine all these styles effectively that achieves the result of creating the right climate and then enables you to achieve the results that you intend, okay? So no one style is perfect. After we're done, we're going to look at some of the major differences between these styles and how you have to combine them skillfully and effectively. So the fifth style of leadership, pace-setting style of leadership. What are the characteristics of this style of leadership? This style of leadership sets high standards for performance and exemplifies them. So you know perhaps certain leaders that they are so sound, they are so competent, and they have a low threshold for mediocrity. That's a pace-setting style. They are so smart, once you don't deliver on task, they don't have time. What this kind of leadership style tells you is that do as I do now. They don't have time to train you. They don't have time to teach you. They don't have time to mentor you. No. The pace-setting style of leadership is marked by conscientious drive to achieve. They are so focused on the achievement that they don't have time to listen to what you have to say or what you have to tell them. They don't care. Get the job done. If I've employed you, your work is to get the job done. If I have to tell you what to do, then you are not supposed to be here. That is what the pace-setting style of leadership talks about. So this particular style of leadership is obsessive about doing things faster and better. This is the kind of leader that tells you, why is it taking time? When I was at that position in 10 minutes, I was done. Why is it taking you two days to get it done? And they are not concerned about whether or not you have certain challenges, genuine and sincere challenges along. They don't want to care. They are just about get the work done, deliver on the assignment. That's a pace-setting style of leadership. This kind of leadership style quickly pinpoints poor performance and demands more from the employees. If the employees don't rise to the occasion, you're fired. That's the pace-setting style of leadership. They are, if you make a mistake, can you see what they are not after constructive feedback, no constructive criticism, no. This is the thing you got wrong here. That's the pace-setting style of leadership. Already you can tell that this style of leadership has a terrible effect on the climate. It destroys the climate. And this ties in with the coercive and the commanding style of leadership. You know certain leaders that are like this. They are after poor performance. They are not empathetic. They don't look at some of the other good things you've done. The one you have done wrongly is the one they emphasize and they zero in on and they begin to criticize you about. So it destroys the climate because the employees begin to feel overwhelmed by the leader's demands for excellence and then their morale begins to drop. So because the leader, get it done now. You have to be fast. You are too slow. Start shouting on them, start screaming on them. And so the employees, their morale is low. They are overwhelmed. This leader is so overbearing. This leader is driving me and all of that. That is the effect it has on climate. And then this kind of leader doesn't give you all the guidelines. The pace-setting leader doesn't give you what to do. It tells you, go and do your research. If I have to tell you, then you don't need to know your job. Go and do your research. I don't have to tell you all the things you have to do. No. And in that environment, clarity is missing. And remember, clarity is very important in creating the right climate. And so this kind of leader destroys the climate by not giving clear guidelines as to what is to be done. So climate is affected. Employees, he expects you to know. You have to know. If you are under me, if I'm my subordinate, I don't have to tell you. And so climate is affected. Also, flexibility and a sense of responsibility is affected because the work is routinized. Work is focused. There's no room for innovation. You can't be flexible because the pace-setting style of leadership tells you this is how it should be done. If you are doing it another way, he will criticize you and say, but this is not how I told you to do it. But even if you're trying to be creative and innovative, the pace-setting style of leadership doesn't want that. Flexibility is destroyed. Creativity is destroyed. Innovation, sense of responsibility. You can't own your work. There's no sense of ownership to your task. You can't innovate. You can't be creative about processes and structures because the pace-setting leadership style wants you to do it the way he knows best. And you have to do it fast. And you have to do it now. And of course, this leadership style doesn't give you any feedback. Wants to ensure, doesn't want you to begin to have a swollen head and say, oh, I'm doing well. No, no, no. You get the job done, no feedback. Doesn't want to tell you, oh, this is what you should do better. If I have to tell you, this is the kind of leadership style that tells you, if I have to tell you, then you are the wrong person for the job. Employees usually have to guess what the leader wants. Can you imagine that? That's a pace-setting leadership style. He wants you, if I have to tell you, then you're the wrong person. You have the employees now start guessing, what does my boss want? What does he want me to do? No clear cut. So that leadership style definitely destroys the climate because commitment level dwindles, motivation levels dwindles, clarity, of course, sense of reward, nothing is clear. So the climate is, of course, destroyed. But when should you use? Remember, as much as they are negative, most of the characteristics of this style of leadership is negative. There are certain instances that will require you to be a pace-setting leadership style, that require you to use the pace-setting leadership style. Certain situations. It's not every time that, of course, generally speaking, the pace-setting style has a terrible effect on the climate, and as such should be used the least. You shouldn't use it at all. But there are certain rare occasions where you will need to switch to the pace-setting style of leadership. Number one is when employees are self-motivated, highly competent, and need little direction or coordination. You want to be a leader. You want to be a pace-setting leadership style. As a leader, you come to a team and you know that every member of the team, they are competent, they are sound, they are professionals. You don't need to start asking for, you are wasting time. Allow them. You can be a pace-setting leadership style. And you know that everybody will deliver on their task at the right time. You know that nobody makes mistakes. That is when you can be a pace-setting leadership style. But that is not often the case. In many instances, as a leader, you have to deal with people that are not as competent. You have to deal with people that are not as proficient. They are not as sound. So you have to be a mentor. You have to switch to another style of leadership, especially when you know that there are members of your team that may not be so competent. But when you know they are competent, they are sound, they are solid, they are self-motivated, there's passion, there's no time for you to start massaging their egos. So you don't need to massage their egos, you just allow them to flow. That is when you can be a pace-setting leader. Also, you can use the pace-setting leadership style when you want to get quick results from a highly motivated and competent team. Let's say there's a particular project and you have been given 1 week deadline. 1 week, you have to submit that project in 1 week. You have to be a pace-setting leader. You don't have time to start trying to pinpoint performance. No. You are a pace-setting leadership style. What you're doing at that time, you're trying to make sure everybody delivers on their task, but you are not on their head, you are not on their toes, you are a pace-setting leadership style. You're not giving feedback. You are not trying to be on their head and trying to get their opinions and say, oh, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? You are pace-setting. You're not giving any feedback. You know that there's a deadline and the time is short. So you are a pace-setter in that sense because there's no time. Quick results need to be achieved. Quick transformation needs to be achieved, and so you are a pace-setting leader in that sense. Also, you can use this style of leadership when, for example, you have a particular project that requires lots of expertise, just like I mentioned in the previous example, and there's no time for it, there's no time. But the expertise on your team, you have recruited people from different industries that are very competent. You have gone there, you have scouted for professionals, you have gotten there, and you know that this project has to be executed with precision. In that instance, you can't afford to be a democratic leader trying to get opinions. There's no time. And the people you have recruited are competent. There's no time. Just be a pace-setting leader in that sense. Keep doing your thing. People are looking to you for leadership. They're not trying to look for you for their feedback because you waste time. You already know that the people on the team are competent. No time, okay? Given a talented team lead, this is something to take note in this particular style of leadership. Given a talented team to lead, the pace-setting leadership style gets work done on time and even ahead of schedule. That's a very important point to note. And that backs up some of the things I've earlier said about the pace-setting style of leadership. If you know that, there's a work to be done and there's no time, once you know deadline is short, there are tasks to be done, you have to be a pace-setting leadership style. But in doing that, you have to ensure that members of your team, they are competent and they are sound. That is when you can be a pace-setting style of leadership. I hope you got that. That's the pace-setting style of leadership. Remember again, the first style of leadership is the coercive and the commanding style. That leadership style tells you, do what I tell you. Very bossy, very arrogant, very proud, very harsh, and shouts on the members of staff. The second style of leadership is the visionary style, driven by a sense of vision. Tells people, come with me. Takes people on a journey. And then the next style is the affiliative style. What does this leader tell you? It's focused on people. People come first. Wants to ensure that everybody is happy. Wants to ensure that everybody's okay. And then the next one is what? The democratic style of leadership. You use this style when you're trying to build the consensus. This kind of leadership style is one that asks, what do you think? What do you think? And all of that. And then this last style we just treated now is what? The pace-setting style of leadership. You use this style when you're trying to achieve tasks in a short time frame. I mean, this is the kind of leadership style. I mean, you are not concerned about perform. You just get the work done. No feedback, nothing. Just get the work done. And I've explained to you when this style should be used. And now, as we get to the end of this training, we want to look at the last style of leadership. Remember, there are 6 of them, and we've looked at 5 now. So this last style, remember again, I keep saying this, the most effective, there's no one style of leadership that is perfect. The most effective leader is the leader who is able to combine all these styles flexibly. You look at the situation you are facing, you ask yourself, what leadership style should I deploy in this situation that will help me to create the right environment that will assist me in achieving the results. And so this last style of leadership, it's also very key in your leadership arsenal, in your leadership resource, in putting all your competencies together towards creating the right resource. Okay, so quickly now let's look at the last style of leadership, which is what? The coaching style. The coaching style of leadership. What are the characteristics of this style of leadership? This leader, who is the coaching style of leadership, who uses the coaching style of leadership, develops people for the future. So you know certain leaders who are like mentors, who just like to ensure that people are growing, people are developing. That is a coaching leader. Well, you can't always be like that, okay? But we'll look at the different angles now. What else do you need to know about the coaching style of leadership? This kind of leadership style is the kind of leadership style that will tell you, try this. Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tested this? Allows you to develop by yourself, allows you to grow. This kind of leader helps employees identify their unique strengths and weaknesses and ties them to their personal and career aspirations. So this is the kind of leader that we want to ask you, are you developing, are you growing? Hope you are attending online courses. Don't just work here and you are not developing yourself. Don't just stay. Wants to ensure that you are constantly growing. That's a coaching leader. And many times you have to use this style of leadership because many multinationals have succeeded and have lasted this long because they were able to replicate good leadership. They were able to find and train people that took over the companies over the years. And that was because they switched to being a coaching leader. The leader of the team of the company at the time was a coaching leader, was able to mentor people across board and develop people that were able to take over the company years and years ahead. So this kind of leadership style encourages employees to establish long-term development goals and helps them to conceptualize a plan for attaining them. Did you get that? That's the democratic style of leadership. This is a mentor. This leader is a mentor. Wants to ensure that you are growing, that you are developing. Wants to refer resources and materials to you. Wants to give you, have you heard about this thing? Have you read this article? Have you watched this documentary? This thing will help you. Have you attended this conference? This is the kind of leader that will recommend conferences to you just for your personal growth and development. This kind of leader will delegate responsibilities just for you to improve. This is not concerned, about whether or not you get the task done. He wants to ensure that you grow. This is the kind of leader also that gives you lots of feedback. And feedback is very important for growth. So if you're a coaching leader, you want to give feedback. If you have somebody that is under you that you are training, somebody that is under you that you are trying to bring up to take over from you in the nearest future, you want to give feedback. You want to switch to the coaching style of leadership and you want to give lots of feedback. Give them constructive feedback. Tell them the areas they are doing well at. Tell them areas they need to improve on. That's the coaching style of leadership. This kind of leadership style is very good at delegating. They are not all about, I have to be the one to get it done. Because they are after your growth, they will expose you to opportunities for your growth. They will give you tasks and responsibilities that will make you grow. At that point, any leader that is doing that is being a coaching leader and is developing you for the future. That is the coaching style of leadership. And so, of course, you can already tell that this style of leadership has a positive effect on the climate. Because if you have a boss, an employer that is after your growth, and everybody will be happy. Who wouldn't want a boss that is after ensuring that you develop your skill? You can't be, you can't be a coercive leader and you're always, shouting on people and screaming on people. But if you are a coaching style of leadership, if you are deploying the coaching style of leadership, you are concerned about growth, about, the person developing and becoming a better version of themselves. Of course, that will have a positive effect on climate because number one, flexibility is achieved. Employees, they feel free to experiment, okay? So the coaching style of leadership, because it's after your growth, gives you the platform to express yourself. Gives you the platform to make mistakes. Doesn't crucify, doesn't condemn you, doesn't criticize you unnecessarily. Because he wants you to ensure that you get it done. So there's freedom, there's latitude, you can make mistakes. That's the coaching style of leadership. Also, responsibility and clarity is achieved in that kind of climate. So this is the kind of leader that ensures that you know exactly. If you ask him questions, if you ask her questions, he tells you exactly, these are the things you should do. These are the things you should do. That's clarity. That's clarity. People know what is expected of them and how it fits into the larger vision. So this is the kind of leader that will tell you step by step. You see this thing that you're doing. This is what it will have. This is what will have. This is the effect it will have on the company. This thing you're doing. This is the action. Takes you through processes. Takes you through the structures. Teaches you. Mentors you. Coaches you. That is why it is called the coaching style of leadership. So it has a positive effect on climate. And with that kind of leadership style comes commitment. Because of course, when your leader shows interest in you, shows interest in your personal development, shows interest in your growth, naturally you'll be committed to the organization. Naturally, you'll just be committed. This my leader loves me. This leader believes in me. And this is the kind of leader that will tell you, I believe in you. It tells you, I'm invested in you and I expect your best efforts. So all the attention that you are getting from this kind of leader is so that you can grow and so that you can develop. And such attention that you get naturally makes you to be committed to the organization. So definitely commitment will now help the climate, because once you are committed, of course you'll be driven to achieve. And then employees of this particular kind of leader rise up to the challenge with their heart, with their mind, and with their soul. That's the kind of effect that this kind of leader has on the climate. So if you are a coaching leader, you're after developing people for the future, you just see that loyalty is easily won. People are loyal to you. They are committed to you. Their heart is there, their mind is there, their soul is there, because they have seen you demonstrate the fact that you are interested in their growth. And so naturally they will just give themselves to you. If you tell them, I want you to come 9 a.m., resume 7 a.m., and resumption time is normally 8 a.m. But you tell them in a particular day, I want you to say, and you are not, no complain, you don't complain. You receive that, this is my coaching leader. This leader is after my growth. This leader is after my improvement. So you are not complaining. So loyalty is easily won. That is the coaching style of leadership. That's the effect that the coaching leader has on the climate. So when should you use this leadership style? Remember, you have to always know when to use these styles. It's not just enough to know what the style is about, the characteristics of the style. You have to know when to deploy it. Because certain times, it's not every time that you'll be a coaching leader. Because you can't always be coaching people. Sometimes you have to steer the company into a vision. You have to know about their welfare. You have to be coercive in certain instances. So when should you use the coaching style of leadership? Number one, you should use the coaching style of leadership when you're trying to help an employee improve performance or develop long-term strengths. So you have seen a particular employee that is weak in a particular area. You're trying to develop this aspect in this area. You now switch to being a coaching leader. Or if you don't have any employee that all your employees are competent, then there's no need to be a coaching leader. You can't be coaching everybody when everybody's expert at their jobs, everybody's professional. There's no need for you to be a coaching leader in that instance. But whenever you see amongst members of your team, there's somebody who needs to grow, who needs to improve, the delivery is not top notch. You are trying to get them to a certain level, a certain standard of performance. Switch to be a coaching leader. Also, you use this particular style of leadership when people in the team desire to be coached. So let's say, for example, you're a leader and there are members of your team that they want to be coached. They want to improve. They've come to you because, of course, as the leader, everybody's looking up to you for direction, for mentorship, for inspiration and all of that. So if you have a particular member of your team that is always coming to you for feedback, what that person is asking, what that employee is asking is for you to be a coaching leader. But the excuse that many leaders give is that, oh, I don't have time. No. You have to recognize the fact that certain instances you have to be a coaching leader. And if, for example, opportunities will present themselves to you, that it will be a teaching opportunity, it will be a learning opportunity for that member of staff. Let's say the staff does something wrong in front of you, or says something wrong, you don't just think, I don't have time, I'll do that later. No, in that instance, you have to switch, even if it's just for 5 minutes, to being a coaching leader and mentor that employee and say, look, don't talk this way. Don't say this thing this way. This is how you should act here. After you're done, you can now switch to another style, maybe a visionary style of leadership, okay? People in the receiving end of the coaching style have to be up for it. I just mentioned that now. So if you are deploying the coaching style of leadership, you can't just say, I want to be a coaching style. No. The person you are trying to coach has to be interested. That is one of the things you have to be mindful of when you are trying to be a coaching leader. You can't just say, I want to coach my people. You have to look at the people you're trying to coach. If they're interested, it works well when the employees want to be coached. They desire, and that's why I mentioned earlier on, by the time you begin to see that a particular employee of yours is interested, has shown interest, has come to you, constantly coming to you for feedback, for your opinions, for your perspectives, and you know that this person requires some coaching, and then you switch. But it doesn't work if the person is not interested. It makes little sense when employees are resistant to learning or to changing their ways. It makes little sense when you know that this employee is not interested. What you're doing, you're just wasting your time. Better you just focus on your task, or maybe assign somebody else to coach them. But in your instance, you know that this person is not interested. They are resistant to your learning. They are not interested. So you can't be a coaching leader. So you have to really look at it critically. In this instance, I want to be a coaching leader, but my mentee or my employee, they are not willing, they are not ready, they're not interested. Why should I bother myself? You have to look at it critically. It also fails, this particular leadership style fails if the leader lacks the expertise to help the employee. So why are you coaching somebody if you don't have the experience? So this particular style of leadership rests so much on knowledge and information. That's why as a leader, you can't just settle with what you know. You have to be flexible. You have to keep improving yourself. You have to keep developing yourself, because certain situations will require you to coach other people. So, and you cannot be a coach if you don't know what you are trying to coach somebody on. Except you want to recommend an online course for them, or recommend a training place for them and all of that. But as a coaching leader, you have to be smart. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know books to recommend. You have to know the right things to tell them. Because if you go and tell them the wrong thing and they carry that for the rest of their life, saying, oh, this was what my coach told me, this was what my mentor told me, you have set them on the wrong direction for life. Okay, so as the coach, you have to know what you're doing. You have to be an expert at that thing you're trying to train them on. But you can't rely overly on this particular style of leadership, okay? Remember, you have to combine. You can't say I'm a coaching leader and that's all you're doing. You're not charting a course for the company. You're not visionary. You can't be a coaching leader. You're coaching and coaching. You're not asking about the welfare. You're not being affiliative. So how should you use all these styles of leadership, even as we begin to get to the end of this training? Remember, we've looked at 6 styles of leadership. The first one is what? The coercive leader. Also known as what? The commanding leader. Remember, this kind of leadership style demands immediate compliance. Tells you, do what I tell you. And then we had the visionary style of leadership. This kind of leadership style mobilizes people toward a vision. This kind of leadership, this kind of leader tells you, come with me. Takes you on a journey towards accomplishing a vision. And then we also looked at the affiliative style of leadership. This leadership style concentrates on harmony, builds bonds, wants to make sure everybody is happy. This kind of leadership style tells you, people come first. I'm after people. My employees have to be happy. Increases their salary, makes them happy. That's the affiliative leader. And then we also looked at the democratic style of leadership. This kind of leadership style forges consensus through participation. Wants to ensure that everybody is interested, everybody has contributed to the program, has contributed to the opinion. Everybody's opinion is heard. Your concerns are heard. And so this is the style that tells you, what do you think? Ask you, what do you think? What do you think about this program? What do you think about this initiative? That's the democratic style of leadership. And then just recently, we looked at the pace-setting style of leadership. This style of leadership is about high performance, sets high standards for performance. You have to learn as I'm doing now, you have to get it done. And remember, we mentioned that this style of leadership is most effective when there's a short time frame to get things done and there are experts on your team to get it done. Become a pace setter. Don't try to be democratic in that instant. Just become a pace setter. And then lastly, we look at what the coaching style of leadership. This kind of leadership style develops people for the future. And you have to develop people for the future. If you are thinking futuristic, if you are thinking long term, because there are certain instances where you as the leader won't be presently available to deliver on the tasks. So you need to train people. You need to develop people for the future. Don't say, I don't have time. So you have to keep recommending and suggesting and training and mentoring and giving feedback and exposing people and delegating. Don't try to do everything by yourself. So these 6 styles of leadership, can you see how they have effect on the climate towards ensuring that you achieve the results that you intend? So how should we rate them in terms of usage? How should we rate them? So there are 6 styles. The first style of leadership will come first, which is the visionary style. So in many instances, the visionary style of leadership is the most effective across situations. As a leader, your primary responsibility is to chart a vision for the company. Keep steering people on the right direction, keep innovating, there has to be energy, there has to be zest. A wise person once said there are 2 things that can make you sell anything. The first one is what? Enthusiasm. And then the second one is organization. So after you have organized all the plans and organized everything, if you don't have passion, if you're trying to sell something to somebody and there's no passion, there's no clear-cut passion for that, nobody will listen to you. That is what the leader brings on board. Passion. There's passion and zeal. There's a vision. And the passion is not just passion that is just there for no reason. The passion is influenced by that vision. It is passion. And that's why whenever we talk about motivation, what motivates people is a sense of vision. And this is what the visionary leader brings on board. There's a clear sense of vision. Where there's vision, people are driven naturally to that. So the major style you want to use is the visionary style. So I will give that 6 stars. 6 stars. The second style you want to use is the coaching style. You have to develop people for the future. You can't be, as you advance in your career as a leader, you are going to be exposed to complex challenges that you won't have time to handle them. And so if you don't have people that you are mentoring, people you are training, you're overwhelmed. And so that's why as you are casting a vision, as the vision keeps expanding, you have to do what? Switch to begin to coach people. Have time. Create time slots in your leadership journey where you're going to be training people, mentoring people, and training people. That's the second style of leadership. So I'll give the coaching style 5 stars. And then the next one you should deploy is the affiliative style. That's the third style you want to deploy. You have to, as a leader, be concerned about people. You have to be concerned. You have to show interest in their interests. People are not interested in how much they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So regardless of how all the intelligence you have gathered, all the vision you have cast the vision for the company, but your employees don't think you care about them. They don't care. So you have to infuse that element into your leadership, being affiliative. So I will give affiliative style 4 stars. And after that, you now have to be democratic. Also, you have to include the democratic element of leadership. What does that mean? We've looked at that already. You have to always seek about opinions of people. Get the buy-in, get the support, get the opinion. Don't just keep going about the vision. Already when you are being affiliative, people already see that you are seeking their perspective. But you have to take it a step further in being democratic and seeking their opinion. And so the democratic style of leadership will get 3 stars. And then the last 2, the next one will be pace-setting style. That gets 2 stars. Most times you don't have to be a pace-setting leader because many times you have to work with team members. You have to develop people. You have to be concerned about the opinions of people. You have to ask for feedback. You have to stay vision. In the next lesson, we're going to conclude this training on leadership as we begin to look at some of the lessons you should begin to practice and implement as a result of all the things you have learned. Join me in the next lesson. Thank you.